Visit us online at burningrubberradio.com for recipes from the NASCAR chef, John Dix, and more great content.
Yeah, man, I'll tell you what, that dang old internet, man, you just go on there and point and click. It's real easy, man.
Now back to more Burning Rubber Radio.
And it's time for another Monday Burning Rubber edition, baby. It's producer Wayne and... Wait a minute.
Here I am, Wayne. I'm back.
I was going to say, who this guy? We ain't seen this guy in, 3 or 4 weeks at this point, it feels like.
I've been missing it, Wayne. I'm glad to be back, brother.
I was going to say, we're glad to have you back, my guy. And, again, folks, that is the NASCAR chef, John Dix, if you don't recognize the face. And so John's going to be here with us today, and hopefully back with us on Friday for some delicious recipes.
Yeah, we got some good recipes lined up, Wayne, so I'm looking forward to it. Everybody tune in now.
I was going to say, folks, you better tune in because this man knows how to cook, and I ain't saying that just to blow smoke up his butt. He good at what he do. And but with that being the case here, folks, we have got a whole weekend to break down for you this week, or today anyway, on Monday, or anytime you're listening to this on audio on demand or video on demand. And Homestead, Miami for NASCAR, Shanghai, China for Formula One, Thermal for IndyCar. And speaking of thermal, it's a good thing there were some thermals involved in our next competitor, being the NHRA, being out in Glendale, Arizona this past weekend. Yeah, there was some there was a lot of interesting comments, or not just comments, but just storylines in general that branched out from all of those different disciplines of motorsport from this past weekend here, John. We can talk about NASCAR coming up here in a little bit with Kyle Larson and what he attempted to do this past weekend down in Homestead, Miami, as well as things that happened out at Thermal for IndyCar. But the first one we're going to get to here is going to be the Chinese Sprint. Was supposed to have been the Chinese Grand Prix, but I'm guessing for whatever reason somebody shortened it, just made it a sprint race. I don't know. Well, we'll have to go figure out what happened with the Chinese Grand Prix. But I don't know if you had a chance to pay much attention to it, John, because we know you've been slaving away over in the kitchen over there. Did you see how Lewis Hamilton actually managed to get a pole for the Chinese Grand Prix?
I missed that, Wayne, but I heard he ran good. You got that new team, and Lewis is he's talented. So I'm not real surprised he did good.
Yeah, and actually managed to top Max Verstappen. Now this will tell you how close this was, John. When they did the Grand Prix qualifications, he only topped Verstappen by 18 ten-thousandths of a second.
Wow!
Like it was. Like we've seen those NASCAR photo finishes at like 1/1000th of a second. 18 ten-thousandths is literally, if you had to measure, it's probably about that much of a difference. If folks are watching us on video on demand, if you're listening on audio on demand, make sure you come over and watch the video on YouTube and Rumble, because this is a good comparison. Because we've seen fender to fender when it comes to NASCAR. But 18 ten-thousandths of a second, folks, is literally about that close between my two fingers if you're watching us on video on demand.
Wow.
That's pretty damn close, all things considered. So great stuff from Lewis Hamilton, taking the pole this past Friday, actually. And we talked about this during the Gas and Go back on Friday's show as well. But fast forward to the Chinese Sprint they had over in Shanghai, and Hamilton starting from the pole, Verstappen starting in second, and Lewis Hamilton and his brand new Ferrari got himself the W this past weekend, John.
Yeah, he ran good, and we're happy for him with that new team. And I missed that race. That's one of the few I missed this weekend, but we'll have to go back and watch it. But tune in, folks. We'll tell you all about it.
Oh yeah, 100%. And but the great part is, again, folks, that is Hamilton's first victory since joining Ferrari during the off season. So some good stuff, I think, on the I think there's some good stuff on the forefront here for Lewis Hamilton coming up
absolutely.
in the very near future with Ferrari. And Verstappen needs to watch out a little bit because there might be a little bit of thing going on there. We'll just have to see what happens. And but moving right along here now into the world of IndyCar here, John, and out in thermal California they were this past weekend here, and we saw Alex Palou have a pretty dominant victory over in St. Pete when they had the St. Pete GP to open up the season a couple of weeks ago here. And Palou strikes again. He is now 2 for 2 in the first 2 rounds of the 2025 NTT IndyCar season, taking home a win in thermal California this past weekend. And it was a race that ran green flag from start to finish, no cautions whatsoever. Wow. And Alex Palou, he passed up Pato O'Ward with 10 to go and pretty much drove to his 13th IndyCar career win.
Yeah, absolutely. Congrats to him.
And the fact that he's already 2 in a row. Now, I can't remember if I brought this up right before. Actually, no, you weren't around for the St. Pete Grand Prix event, were you?
No.
Well, you know how we like to make fun of or make light of blunders that people make for comments on the show here. So
well, not us, Wayne.
Oh yeah, no, not us at all. I mean, we only get the nasty looks from everybody when we make those slide remarks. But but with that being the case here, Bob Pockrass. And we all love Bob. We love Bob.
Bob's my buddy.
And but Bob probably asked one of the, how dare I say it, dumbest questions you could ever ask as a journalist right after the St. Pete Grand Prix. And for whatever reason, Fox sent him down there instead of having him cover the Cup race that weekend, which makes absolutely zero sense to me, but I don't know. Primarily just because NASCAR is where Bob is, in our opinion, best suited.
Right.
He's definitely out of his league when it comes to IndyCar. But he had asked, I forget who it was, who he had asked, but he had asked him, he's like, how do you beat Palou for the championship? And the guy looks at him and he's like, it's round 1, dude. And
poor
so,
Bob.
yeah, so it's like how can you ask somebody a question like that after just one race? Now I could see if we had, like say 2 more races under the belt. Yes, the IndyCar season is only 18 races long.
Right.
But the fact of the matter is, you want to make sure you have at least, by comparison stakes, you want to make sure you have at least a third of the season in the books. So 4 to 5 races before you go start asking that question. Well,
that's kind of surprising, Wayne, because Bob's usually on top of his game. But,
he is.
We all have our moments, I guess.
That's why when I brought this to Andy and Zach a couple of weeks ago while you were out, it was like we know at that point he's out of his league when he's asking a question like that on the first race. And so, Bob, as much as we love you, stick to NASCAR. And but
we all have a brain fart once in a while. So
well, I mean, I'd rather have a fart, something like that instead of a brain fart, because
I might see Bob at Talladega and I have to pick on him.
Well, just remind him to not hold those farts in, because when they travel up your spine into your brain, that's how you get shitty ideas. And oh man, but moving on here now over into the world of the NHRA, and John, this one's gonna have me take the glasses off for a minute, because we all remember last season with John Force's horrible crash that ended in an explosion. We saw another one of those this past weekend out in Phoenix.
Yeah, our buddy Ron had a rough day.
Yeah, our buddy Ron Capps had a very similar crash where his car crossed the center line and struck the left guardrail before coming to a stop. And this was in the first round of elims too for the Arizona Nationals at Firebird Motorsport Park. Ron Capps he had the explosion happen right before the finish line, which was pretty much the same way John's car blew up last year.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it looks similar.
It looked eerily similar. Eerily similar.
Absolutely.
Now, granted, of course, the big difference is that Ron is a little bit younger than John, so age does kind of play a factor in this one here as far as like recovery and other things like that. But Capps was very alert and exited the car under his own power, and was examined by Chief Medical Officer Dr. Surface before being released. And Capps was quoted as in a comment saying, "We saw Proc's car in front of us go 3.93, and Guido, which is Dean Antonelli, who is Capps' crew chief, set up the car to easily do a 3.92 to 3.93 run. And I hit the gas, didn't see Blake Alexander was running great like yesterday in the final round of our qualifying, and it just happened so fast." But that's exactly how it happened to John too. And the big difference between Capps' explosion and John's explosion last year is that John didn't make a comment right away. This was one of those things where John was definitely hit a whole lot harder than Ron was, I think. And not to mention, John was not cleared right away. John has not been cleared right away like Capps was.
Right. Yeah.
So,
John's had us scared for a little while.
Yeah. John definitely had us scared for quite some time. But now, granted, folks, we're going to follow the story a little bit more closely. So if there are any developments that do come along with this whole deal from this past weekend down in Phoenix at the Arizona Nationals, we will definitely be sure to fill you in when it comes to all of that. But
absolutely.
Now, the thing that I do want to talk about here, John, and this is, I know Young Money's trying to do the Bristol sweep this year as well. That was actually announced last week, is that he's going to try and do the Bristol sweep. But I didn't think he was going to try and do the Homestead sweep. And but I'll tell you what, by God be damned, Kyle Larson, if it had not been for a spin in the Xfinity race, he would have had the clean sweep of Homestead.
Yeah, he always runs good there. He's a rim rider, and he loves getting up there by that wall. And this week, Wayne was his 30th Cup Series win in 372 starts.
Yep.
And do you know what other notable drivers had not made that feat?
If I'm not mistaken, the only ones that have managed to do something like that were the Richard Pettys and Dale Earnhardts of the world.
Well, the notable drivers that I have a list of who had not made 30 wins in that many starts was Mark Martin, Denny Hamlin, Dale Jarrett, Matt Kenseth, Joey Logano, Kevin Harvick, Martin Martin, and Kyle Busch. So that's a list right there.
That's a healthy list, and it's a healthy list because I mean most of those names, names like Mark Martin, Kyle Busch, even Denny Hamlin, those are very notable names when it comes to the NASCAR Cup Series, and knowing that they couldn't even pull that kind of a feat off is it's crazy to me, knowing the level of talent that all three of them possess.
Right.
And but yeah, Kyle Larson takes home the Truck Series race in pretty handy fashion. I got a chance to catch the replay on FS1 on early Saturday morning. Like this tells you how late I was out working when I could actually go back and watch FS1 and the race actually be on. So that was entertaining in the slightest, watching Kyle do his number and win the truck race at Homestead, Miami, and then the Cup race. It was actually a pass for the win, as far as that is concerned. Here, the spin and not a spin and win. Where is my Cup article? Homestead sweep derailed on restart. That's the Xfinity. Where is?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he made a pass with just a few laps left, and
yeah,
he
made the pass with just a few laps left. And I'll tell you what, I'm gonna say this, just because he did earn just a little bit of respect for me this past weekend. That being Bubba Wallace. He earned a little bit of respect for me this past weekend because of the fact being that he raced pretty clean and managed to lead 54 laps before being passed by Alex Bowman.
Yeah, absolutely.
So,
and Kyle Larson also hit the wall in the first part of the race. I think it was like about the first 10 or 15 laps. So
something like that, yeah.
At that point, I thought he was pretty much out of it, but I wouldn't count that boy out.
Oh yeah, no, you really can't count him out as far as that's concerned. But again, like I said, and I know when Zach goes back and hears the video on demand or the audio on demand, he's gonna be like, "Oh my God, Wayne actually gave props to Bubba."
That 2311, I mean, that whole team is running better this year.
Oh yeah.
They're running a lot better, so
Well, I mean, you got Tyler Reddick, so I mean that's already a good part of 2311 anyway. But
yeah, but that whole team running better. My hats off to Mr. Jordan and what he's doing.
Well, maybe he finally put the brakes to Bubba. Was like, look, you either get your shit together or you're getting out of here. maybe that's what it took. Maybe that's what it took.
Could be.
I don't know.
Could be.
We're not at the shop every week to hear those conversations. Though I would love to be a fly on the wall when those are had.
Oh yeah, wouldn't we all on that one, Wayne?
And but no, Bubba did garner a little bit of my respect this weekend for a very clean race and leading as many laps as he did in the event and actually doing fairly well with a third place finish. So
and acted pretty respectably at the end,
That too.
Bless his heart, he's not a real good loser, but he's doing better. So
no, he's a very sore loser. There's no doubt about that one. But yeah, props to Bubba. Now for folks listening on video on demand and audio on demand, don't get your hopes up because we still have what is it now? 33 more races to go for Bubba to just fuck everything up and undo that entire respect level that he has earned from me. So,
and that could happen.
Very, very easily can happen. So don't get your hopes up that I'm going to be a newly found Bubba Wallace fan because that's not going to happen for a while. Just saying. And but then moving over into the Xfinity series here, John, we were talking about Larson spinning out and messing up his chance at a triple threat finish here. But JRM definitely struck it good, though, with Justin Allgaier getting that OT win at Homestead, Miami this past weekend.
Right. I think the last time Kyle Larson swept a weekend, he was on our show.
Actually, you know what? You might be right, sir. I would have to go back and double check the stats on that, but I have a... You know what? I do. I have a feeling you might be right. I have a feeling you might be right.
I'm going to call his PR lady and say, that's why he didn't get the sweep. You didn't have him booked on the show.
He didn't get a chance to burn the rubber, baby. And man, that's crazy. But I mean, hey, legitimacy is where it's at when it comes to BRR, folks. We're not goofing around here with you.
It is what it is, Wayne. I mean, call it like it is. So
that is very true. But I'll tell you what, though, John, if we go look at the point standings right now as it sits here, Corey, starting with the Truck Series, Corey Heim is back on top. Ty Majeski, Chandler Smith, Grant Enfinger, and Stuart Friesen round out your top five. Tyler Ankrum, Daniel Hemrick, Lane Riggs, who is a rookie this year in the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series here. Wait a minute, I said Camping World a minute ago, didn't I?
You did.
I was going to say, I just caught myself doing that. Wow. I pulled an Andy, and he's not even here. But then you got Jake Garcia and another rookie in Caden Honeycutt rounding out the top 10 as far as the Truck Series points are concerned here. And then if we go look over at the Xfinity Series here, we've got Justin Allgaier on top with his couple of wins. And Sam Mayer in second place, Jesse Love in third, Austin Hill fourth, Sheldon Creed fifth, Sammy Smith in sixth, Connor Zilich, a rookie in Xfinity this season, sitting in seventh place overall, Ryan Segan eighth, Eric Almirola in ninth, and Taylor Gray rounding out the top 10 as far as the Xfinity Series points are concerned. NASCAR Cup Series, we've got William Byron on top with one win, Kyle Larson on top with one win, Alex Bowman in third, Tyler Reddick in fourth, Christopher Bell fifth, Chase Elliott sixth, Bubba Wallace, again, like I said, he did garner a little bit of respect, but don't hold your breath. He gained 4 spots this week in the points to seventh overall. Denny Hamlin in eighth, so he's actually beating his boss. That's a surprise. Chris Buescher in ninth, and Ryan Blaney rounds out the top 10 as far as the NASCAR Cup Series points are concerned here. The weekend schedule, and we'll have more breakdown on this coming up on Friday's Gas and Go. It looks like it's going to be an FS1 and CW doubleheader this weekend, John. Nothing right. Is going to be on the main Fox channel this week.
Okay, one of my favorite little tracks, Martinsville.
Oh, yeah. And folks, and don't forget here, coming up this Wednesday, we have got a pretty badass interview for you. And leading into his debut in the NASCAR Xfinity Series, and you've seen him before. As far as Burning Rubber is concerned, he filled in as a co-host several years back. And not only did he do Burning Rubber, he is a full-time licensed ophthalmologist. So he's an eye surgeon here, John. We've got a true to form real life doctor breaking a record in NASCAR here by being the first ever licensed doctor of anything to get behind the wheel of a NASCAR stock car this weekend coming up in Martinsville. And we've got the interview with him on Burning Rubber coming up on Wednesday during the Fast Lap. It's going to be Patrick Staropoli.
Yeah, that's so cool.
And so do be on the lookout for that one, folks. That'll be on our YouTube and Rumble channels midweek here. So Wednesday afternoon, expect to see that going up on the channels. Also on our Facebook page, facebook.com/Burning Rubber Radio, and all of our other social media platforms, X, Instagram, all that good stuff. But John, we have covered a lot of ground in a short amount of time, and we've got to get ready to do the victory lap and burn one out before we head out of here.
Yep. Got a good week ahead of us, guys, so need to listen up to that interview Friday, and then Wayne and I'm not sure Hall's going to be here. We're going to do a recipe and a little prelude to the weekend. So check it out, guys.
Yep, we're going to be doing Martinsville prep coming up on Friday. We've got the Fast Lap on Wednesday, and just a whole bunch of good stuff for you guys coming up throughout the week here. So do be coming back to our Facebook, our YouTube, and our Rumble channels and check the video out, or you can listen to the main show, this one, as well as the Gas and Go on audio on demand. I'm going to try and get it set up to where we can put the Fast Lap up on audio on demand as well. So do be on the lookout for that one as well. But with that said here, folks, for the NASCAR chef, John Dix, for Andy DeLay, for Zachary Murtis, I am producer Wayne. We love you guys. And until Wednesday with Patrick Staropoli, Burning Rubber, baby.
Burning Rubber, baby.